morning sun shines on the gleaming hide of a muscular ranch horse. The aroma of bacon and coffee drifts from the wood cook stove at a cow camp. Silver spurs jingle as the men and women of the West get set for another day in the saddle. From the heart of Canada's finest ranching country, this is the Spirit of the West with rancher and horse trainer Hugh McLennan and his collection of music, poetry, and conversations with the folks who live and work with horses and cattle in the Spirit of the West.
When you make a deal on a horse that seems to be just what you want, sometimes things can sure change when you get him home.
Then the tornado hit as that bronc threw a fit and kicked me plumb into July. Doggone it, I swear, as I sailed through the air, for a bit I thought I could fly.
Chris Isaacs, and he'll have the rest of that story in today's Cowboy Poetry Spotlight. And have you ever wondered what kind of books you would find in the Barnyard Library? Well, Baxter Black seems to know.
One day my soul just opened up. The tale of one cow's battle with foot rot.
On the Rangeland News, we'll look at some developing stories, including how Amazon might have a big effect on the meat industry.
And in turn, allow mainstream meat suppliers to incorporate Amazon's model when dealing with other customers.
On the Urban Saddles and Western Wear horse training file, a listener has 2 horses, and they give her a real problem when she tries to remove the bridle. But I think it'll be easy to fix. Got a real beauty for our classic Western song. And about my guest this week, Lindsay Chung will be riding 600 kilometers from Sarajevo to Croatia over 8 days on a bicycle. Now, back in 2015, she was part of a 211-day cross-country horseback ride, and today she'll tell us why she's doing it.
After the ride, we had done this work and we had really made a difference in people's lives with the horses.
Now, when we load up the stock trailer and head the old pickup down the gravel road, things sometimes can go sideways. Here's a brand new one from the latest release by Wiley and the Wild West.
I got a ranch rig special with a Cummins 6, homemade flatbed with a gooseneck hitch. Dents on the doors, paint peeling off the hood. 4 ball tires, but the spare is good. Headed to the steel ring, pulling a load. 2005 weight heifers down the old county road. I took a big run at the bottom of the hill. Heard a bang, gall dang, now we're standing still. Stranded on a gravel road. Stranded on a gravel road. Oh, we done broke down 40 miles from town, stranded on a gravel road. Well, I've driven this rig where a goat wouldn't go, through the rocks and the mud and the Montana snow. She blows a little smoke, she burns a little oil, but a brand new rig could just to make a man spoil. Over 300K, but I thought she'd go at least another couple 100,000 miles or so. They say you can always tell a cowboy, but you can't tell him much. I'm a-telling you now, boy. Stranded on a gravel road. Stranded on a gravel road. Oh, we done broke down 40 miles from town, stranded on a gravel road. Hooah! With a Cummins 6, homemade flatbed with a gooseneck hitch. Dents on the doors, paint peeling off the hood. 4 ball tires, but the spare she's good. Stranded on a gravel road. Stranded on a gravel road. Oh, we done broke down 40 miles from town, stranded on a gravel road. I was done broke down 40
Well, as you're hearing this, Billy and I are at Penny Bryn Farm near Kersley, BC, for a fundraiser for Lindsay Chung's participation in the Wounded Warriors Battlefield Bike Ride. And she's on the line now. So, Lindsay, tell us more.
Well, this year, the Battlefield Bike Ride is 600 kilometers from Sarajevo to Croatia, and it's commemorating the 25th anniversary of the Battle of Medak Pocket, which was the Canadian Army's most intense combat since the Korean War. So the bike ride is meant to honor and recognize the sacrifice and the service of Canadians overseas. And this year, as it goes along, it's 7 days long, we'll be stopping at areas of significance to members of the Canadian Armed Forces who served there.
Do you know approximately how many people will be taking part?
I know that it's capped at 100, but I'm not sure if there are 100 cyclists.
And how long will that take to complete that course?
It is June 8th to 16th.
It all helps families of veterans and first responders to cope with PTSD or even transition out of the military, which is just a huge challenge that's so underrated.
It is, and I think that the types of programs that Wounded Warriors help support are very important and very needed. So I'm excited to do my little part to help.
What has it been that's really motivated you to get involved in this whole cause?
There's quite a lot, actually. My father served in Rwanda, so I have a bit of a connection there. And I have a very good friend here in Quesnel named Paul Nichols, who actually served in the Battle of Medak Pocket in 1993. So he is the reason I'm doing this. I want to kind of honor the important and hard work that he did back then.
Yeah.
And it's pretty amazing, actually, because there's going to be there will be cyclists on this ride who served in the Balkans. And so one of Paul's good friends that he served with will be cycling.
Okay, well, let's talk about that cross-country horseback ride in 2015 when we come back. And I found a powerful song that I think will be a good fit when the Spirit of the West continues right after this. Welcome back to the Spirit of the West. This weekend I've got my old guitar and Billy up at the Penny Bryn Farm near Kersley, British Columbia, where we're taking part in a fundraiser for Lindsay Chung's participation in the Wounded Warriors Battlefield Bike Ride coming up in June. Lindsay also took part in a cross-country horseback ride for the same cause in 2015. And Lindsay, you say that absolutely changed your life.
It absolutely did. I was part of the support crew for that ride, which Paul, my friend I mentioned, he and his wife Terry did in 2015. And Paul rode his horse and had veterans and serving Canadian Armed Forces members join him as the ride went through their communities. We went from Victoria to St. John's, and we had about 363 veterans join us for that ride. And we met some amazing people, and we really had a chance to change a lot of lives through that.
Did you ride the whole distance from Victoria to St. John's?
No, I was in one of the travel trailers that we kind of followed along. Paul rode. We did a bit of our route wasn't straight A to B because there were certain places like the Canadian Shield where we couldn't find a safe route. So we would maybe skip a little section and then do a longer section. For example, in Alberta, we did a lot to try to hit some of the major cities, and because we wanted to really raise awareness and touch as many people's lives as we could.
Yeah. Were there any riders that did complete the entire coast-to-coast journey?
Paul did.
Wow.
Yeah,
I got to talk to him.
I agree. Yes, so when you come, I would love to connect you. And he has lots of amazing stories to share. And he and his horse Bill, we covered 7,000 kilometers together and saw such a variety of terrain and atmospheres. They rode in downtown major cities like Ottawa and Montreal and Victoria, and they rode on trails and on secondary roads and in ditches. It was incredible.
My gosh, wouldn't that make an incredible documentary video? Wow.
Yeah, we're hoping Paul will read a book. We've talked about it before. So.
Yeah.
Chain swaying with the weight of braided reins. Flies scatter with the shake of sorrow mane. Usually puts my mind at ease as I ride home, a gentle breeze blown like today, but not today. A rancher watching over these hills for land and cow is just a part of a crazy world that's full of unrest now. And some would bring on us the wicked of their ways. And a man can't ride on like he's safe on his home range. War horse, will we ride again? War horse, watching from the distance like a lion from his den. War horse remembered and honored with man, but winds fire up his flaxen mane as he stands watch over the land. War horse, war horse, riding past the cedar posts that first fence these lands. They're looking like soldiers all in a line, making a stand. Some of them have fallen and lie buried in the sand, but the old one's still standing there like a reminder of this great land. War horse, will we ride again? Watching from the distance like a lion from his den. And war horse remembered and honored with man, but winds fire up his flaxen mane as he stands watch over the land. War horse, remembered and honored with man, but winds fire up his flaxen mane as he stands watch over the land. War horse, war horse, chain swaying with the weight of braided reins.
Amazing string arrangements there. That's quite a piece of writing from Ryan Fritz. It's from his Keeper of the West album. Well, if you go to pennybrinfarm.ca, you'll see a section there on the Forge program for wounded warriors, first responders, and their families. And Lindsay Chung is doing her part.
I'm really glad, too. I feel very grateful that I am able to do this. And I hope that in my little way I'm helping some people out there and just doing whatever I can.
I'm sure you are.
Thank you.
Anything else that you wanted to add about this that we can fit in with this here?
The work that we're doing with veterans on the farm, if you saw the section called the Forge program, everything kind of ties in with, since the ride across Canada, this has been just such an important part of my life. And I personally am not doing anything out of the ordinary or super important on the farm here, but I moved from Vancouver Island to come and live with Paul and Terry on their farm here. After the ride, we had done this work and we had really made a difference in people's lives with the horses, because they would come and do a 2 or 3 hour lesson with Terry, and they could really see how the horses would mirror, say, if they were getting anxious or holding a lot of tension. And so these lessons had such an impact on a lot of the people who joined us on the ride. So we finished the ride, and we all came back to BC, and we're all changed and wanted to just do more of that. Right away, people who had been on the ride, they said, how can we get more of this? And we need this. And so we began developing a pilot program, and Terry has developed she's developed a horsemanship program called Equine Assisted Mindfulness. And so we did a pilot program in end of May 2016, and we had 7 veterans from across the country come and participate. And they came and stayed on the farm and worked with the horses, and they were each paired with a horse and had to, learn about horse care and grooming, and they were part of the farm for that time. And so that was amazing and really reinforced again, that we had something special to offer.
Well, coming right up, Baxter Black and a look at the books you might find in the Barnyard Library. Another one of several songs with the title Calving Time, and then the Rangeland News, when the Spirit of the West continues right after this.
Howdy, friends. This is Baxter Black on Spirit of the West with Hugh McLennan, with a little peek at the Barnyard Bestsellers. Ladies and gentlemen and followers of cowboy humor, in a moment of weakness, I, Baxter Black, have written another book. I appreciate it. Its title is Scrambled Wisdom. Almost isn't is it? Which almost makes sense. Well, our offer does make sense. Only $19.95 plus shipping. A solid gold guarantee. Call 800-654-2550. Online at BaxterBlack.com. In one of Gary Kundle's cartoons, he shows dogs in the library reading from selected titles such as Bones, Are All the Good Ones Gone? Well, such clever animal behavior insight leads me to consider what books one might find on the Barnes & Stable bestseller list. I looked. Livestock are heavily into self-help books. I'll read you a list of the top bestsellers and the one-sentence synopsis. Any similarities between human and livestock titles just shows how desperate both species really are. The first, Herefords are from Venus. Angus are from Mars. An example of prehistoric rivalry. Chicken soup for the freshly weaned soul, or the freshly hatched soul, or the newly dehorned soul, or the freshly plucked soul, or the freshly culled, on and on and on, heart-wrenching stories of leaving home ad nauseum. The Holstein Prophecy, bovine angels inspire milkers to greater production. The joy of artificial insemination. Doing the best you can with what you've got. The 7 habits of highly effective porcines. How to organize your own pig pen. Codependent no more. Breaking the herd habit. Earn millions without leaving your stall. The 9 steps to parasitic freedom. Saying goodbye to lice. The goat that listens to horses. Memoirs of a racetrack psychologist. One day my soul just opened up. The tale of one cow's battle with foot rot. Protein power. Eat urea and like it. Don't sweat the small stuff. Shetlands improve their self-esteem. Cook right for your type. Rumen versus stomach versus gizzard. Into thin air, where all your methane and money go. Unless you think ungulates don't read for fun, I offer these titles. The Sheep Whisperer, a power line runs through it. The Feedlots of Madison County, and last but not least, the Dairy of Anne Frank. Gosh, well, this is Baxter Black on Spirit of the West with Hugh McLennan. Thanks for listening.
Well, just ahead of the Rangeland News, here's the first of 2 songs with the same title that you'll hear today. And rumor has it that this popular singing ranch gal, Jean Prescott, might be back at the Kamloops Cowboy Festival next March. Oh yeah, and the title, Calving Time.
The days are getting longer, early spring has shown its face. The mudroom's clean and orderly, supplies are in their place. Then suddenly it happens on a crisp and chilly morn. We go into action, 'cause our first calf is born. It's calving time, we'll be working night and day. We've waited all year long, and we're ready come what may. Life is a cycle, and it happens every year when we put our lives on hold, 'cause it's calving time round here. 2 weeks have passed and all is fine, we've only lost a few. When that blizzard hit last week was not much we could do. The mudroom needs a scrubbing, there's bottles in the sink. And after what those calves brought in this place, it really stinks. It's calving time, we're working night and day. We've waited all year long, we're ready come what may. Life is a cycle and this happens every year when we put our lives on hold, 'cause it's calving time round here. Well, another week has passed us by, I have nothing to report, except that sleeping patients are both getting mighty short. You can't get in the mudroom, this place is one big mess. Why anyone would live like this is anybody's guess. It's calving time, we've been working night and day. We've waited all year long, and we're ready come what may. Life is a cycle and this happens every year when we put our lives on hold, 'cause it's calving time round here. And now just like those calving cows, we both were slowing down. I'm watching the place today 'cause hubby's gone to town. He went off to a bull sale, it's like an endless chain. We'll breed those cows for next year, then we'll do it all again. When it's calving time, we'll be working night and day. We'll be waiting all year long, we'll be ready come what may. Life is a cycle and this happens every year when we put our lives on hold, 'cause it's calving time round here. We'll put our lives on hold, 'cause it's calving time round here. Yeah.
Now the Rangeland News on the Spirit of the West. A roundup of news and coming events from cattle drives to horse shows.
At the top of page 1, it says, used to be, if I remember, we only went to Amazon.com to buy books, and I have used it a few times. Amazing how they even got it delivered to us way up here in the hills in just a couple of days. But now, Amazon is in the meat business, and here's more from Rod Bain.
What might Whole Foods' acquisition by Amazon look like to the meat industry and consumers? Jeanette Barnard of Decision Next told an audience at this year's USDA Ag Outlook Forum that where grocers and meat distributors run sales based on traditional norms.
So if you're a sales rep at a packer and you're trying to decide what promotion am I going to run on what item, you're probably going to look at, well, what promotion did I run 52 weeks ago? Because that's the one I typically run.
Amazon's business model is data-driven and forward-thinking, which could help Whole Foods transform from buying meat from small and niche suppliers based on consumer demand.
Whole Foods is now going to need to be sourcing from some more mainstream packers. So when that happens, Amazon, Whole Foods, is going to have greater expectations of those suppliers. Those suppliers are going to have to adapt to a company that's making data-driven decisions, that doesn't just want to take 5 truckloads of meat this week because we always take 5 truckloads of meat.
And in turn allow mainstream meat suppliers to incorporate Amazon's model when dealing with other customers. I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
Well, Farm Fair at Northlands in Edmonton seems a ways away now, but the wheels are already turning. And we just found out that the champion of the world winners for the British and European breeds, as well as the Angus champion of the world qualifiers, will be hosted during a custom tour and program in conjunction with the 45th anniversary of Farm Fair, and that's November 7th to Billy was working in the kitchen, and I was thumbing through the July 1946 issue of Successful Farming magazine the other day, and I found this piece on the urban-rural divide. They didn't call it that back then, but they did a survey of farmers and city folks, and farmers were asked to this question: what do you think are the chief faults city folks have? And city folks were asked the same question about farmers. Well, about 22% of the farmers said city folks stay to themselves and don't see farmers' viewpoints. They act proud and feel superior. They spend too much time in nightclubs. They support organized labor, and they tear around too much. And the city folks said, well, farmers are not well informed, not well educated, narrow-minded, and get too much money for farm products. And this might be the only one that still applies. They work too hard. Well, that was 1946, and boy, the ads in that magazine from then were sure fascinating too. I just got off the phone with my friend, the Arizona horse trainer Mike Kevill, and Mike was one of the judges at the Scottsdale main event, and he said the Trainers Challenge winner was Mark Lyons from Whitesboro, Texas. And we will be heading up and packing up and heading for the Red Deer main event this coming week. And I am looking forward to again being behind the mic for another Trainers Challenge there. And this one features Alex Alves, who trains out of Strathmore, and a lot of you know him, and Cade Mills, former winner of both the Chilliwack and the Red Deer main events, and 5 other big ones as well. Cade trains out of the Low Ondo Arena at Sundre, and he also runs the Danes Ranch Open Trainers Challenge at the Ivan Danes Country Music Picnic in August. And Jason Irwin, who trains at the family business North Star Livestock out of Fort Elgin, Ontario. Well, renowned prairie animal science professor Charles Red Williams has passed away at the age of 93, leaving a legacy of work in livestock care and ag extension. He was born in Regina and raised on farms in Saskatchewan and Alberta, served in the Second World War on the HMCS Sioux, and he's credited as the first Allied ship to approach Juno Beach on D-Day. The Order of Canada, in inducting him as a member, said, his dedication and participation in the productive improvement of one of our most important industries has been a source of inspiration and encouragement to all of those working in the field. And a celebration of his life will take place at a later date, his family said in his obituary, and memorial donations can be made to the Sherbrooke Foundation or to the Saskatchewan branch of the Kidney Foundation of Canada. Well, the next regular cattle sales at the Okanagan Falls Yard of BC Livestock Co-op is April 23rd. Kamloops sale April 24th. Williams Lake sale April 26th. Vanderhoof April 27th. Boy, the auctioneers are going to be busy. And that's the same day, the 27th, as the big spring horse sale at the Kamloops yards. Meanwhile, at the Innisfail auction market, regular Wednesday cattle sales, butcher cows and bulls start at 9, followed by calves and yearlings, and the bred cows come in around noon. And we might be seeing some cow-calf pairs coming through by now, too. And the next horse sale at the Innisfail auction market, Saturday, April 28th. And guess what? We're down to the final item. And I guess things in the cattle business maybe haven't changed all that much. You know, I can remember in 1973, my uncle took 10 steer calves to the sale and went to the bank and cashed a check and bought a brand new pickup. And here we are in 2018, and you can still sell 10 steer calves and get enough money to buy a 1973 pickup. And that's the Rangeland News. Next on the Urban Saddles and Western Wear Horse Training File, a look at a somewhat unusual problem. A couple of horse owners have horses that will not let go of the bit when the owner tries to remove the bridle. That's next when the Spirit of the West continues right after this. Welcome back to the Spirit of the West. We'll take a look at an interesting problem with a couple of horses that won't let go of the bit when the owner tries to remove the bridle on the Urban Saddles and Western Wear Horse Training File, and that's coming up after another one of those songs with the same title. This is another one called Calving Time, and this time it's Brett Kessel.
It's calving time, I've gotta go. My heart melts like late spring snow. When I'll be back, if God knows, He ain't gonna say. Daddy shoots a look at me. He says I'm a fool to dream a dream that breaks the hearts of so many and takes them far away from their home and from the farm and from their families, loving arms. But I've got 6 strings and 8 pistons, the song I've gotta get out of my system. The bullpen door's wide open, I'm pulling out and I'm high hoping, and it makes it all the worse that I'm leaving home at calving time. April 1st, that ain't bad, 'cause we've had worse. I used to love this time of year, being Daddy's right-hand man. You'd always hear it soft and low, and no one could have ever known that the music on the radio would make me who I am. Yeah, right there. That's me. That's exactly where I wanna be. 'Cause I've got 6 strings and 8 pistons, a song I've gotta get out of my system. The bullpen door's wide open, I'm pulling out and I'm high hoping, and it makes it all the worse that I'm leaving home at calving time. I'm gonna miss my home and the farm. I'll miss my family's loving arms. But I've got 6 strings and 8 pistons, a song I've gotta get out of my system. The bullpen door's wide open, I'm pulling out and I'm high hoping, and it makes it all the worse that I'm leaving home at calving time. But Daddy says he'll
The 17th annual Spirit of the West Cruise will be something unforgettable. My wife Billy and I will be hosting a big group of ranchers, farmers, horse and cattle folks, and Spirit of the West listeners for a trip I know many of you have had on your bucket list for a long time. September 16th, 2018, we will sail out of Quebec City and cruise Canada's maritime provinces in all the glory of the fall colors, including stops in Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island, Sydney and Halifax, Nova Scotia, St. John, New Brunswick and the Bay of Fundy, Bar Harbor, Maine, Boston, Portland, Maine, and Cape Liberty, New Jersey, with an optional stay in New York City. Now, just for the Spirit of the West group, we have a tour of a cattle operation in Nova Scotia. We'll have all our great Western music concerts and sing-alongs, and we'll be swapping lots of ranching stories. And we'll have a lot of special activities just for our group. You'll find more details on the cruise section of our website at hugh-mclennan.com and on our cruise Facebook page, and you can always call the toll-free number 1-800-530-0131.
Now it's time for the Horse Training File, brought to you by Irvine Tack and Western Wear, Canada's largest Western store.
Urban Tack and Western Wear is Canada's largest Western retailer with over 60,000 square feet of everything Western. This Western wonderland has an endless variety of tack, boots, jeans, and outerwear with new items arriving daily. With over 1,000 saddles to choose from, you're bound to say Urban's is totally a unique place to shop. The kids will love the styles, you love the quality. Urban Tack and Western Wear off exit 305 on Highway 2 by Crossfield, open 7 days a week, online at urbans.ca. And you know you'll find all your calving supplies at Urban's, ear tags, ear taggers, vet supplies, and so much more. What a place. Hope to drop in again next week sometime. Well, here's a question I don't get too often. A lady says, I have 2 mares that when I try to remove the bridle, they clamp their jaws tight and they won't let go of the bit without a fight. Okay, here's the key words. Won't let go of the bit without a fight. Now, if you are fighting with them over that, I'm afraid you're making the problem worse. By forcing the bit out of their mouth, you might cause damage to the mouth, not to mention that you're on your way to creating a bigger problem. The horse is quite likely to begin refusing to take the bit at all, and you don't want that. Sometimes this problem is caused by banging the bit on the horse's teeth when you try to take it out. So right from the start, that's something you got to be very careful about. Now, horses naturally will mouth the bit a little bit when bitting up or out, and it's their way of engaging or disengaging the bit in or out of its pocket where it sits comfortably. And believe me, no horse that I know would hold on to a bit any longer than he needs to. I've had quite a few that would take a while to let go of the bit when I removed the bridle, and I'd just hold the headstall loosely and let them decide on their own to release the bit, and they always would. I had one that took quite a while to release, so I would just let go of the headstall and leave him holding the bit in his mouth, and eventually he'd be ready to drop it. And for Urban Saddles and Western Wear, that is the Horse Training File. You know, our horses really do well on that daily feeding of Hoffman's Horse Ration, and you can find out more at hoffmanshorseration.com. Well, Lindsay Chung is getting ready for the Wounded Warriors Battlefield Bike Ride coming up in June, where a group of riders will pedal from Sarajevo to Croatia over a period of 8 days. And this ride commemorates the 25th anniversary of the Battle of Medak Pocket. That was the most intensive combat that Canadian troops experienced since the Korean War. And the ride is a fundraiser for Wounded Warriors, and that program, of course, funds therapeutic programs for veterans, first responders, and their families to help cope with PTSD and to help transition out of the military. And she was also part of the support crew for the 2015 Cross Canada Horseback Ride for the Communities for Veterans Foundation. And this weekend, we were up at Penny Bryn Farm, where Lindsay's located, taking part in a fundraiser for the weekend.
This type of support and program is needed. So now we're close to offering our first Forge program, which is what has developed out of the ride and out of that pilot program. And so we're going to have 10 veterans come May 29th to June 7th and spend 10 days on the farm. Yeah.
Neat. And that's Forge, F-O-R-G-E, not Forage, F-R-E-A-G-E. Lindsay, thanks for taking time out of what I know is a pretty busy schedule for you to do this. Look forward to meeting you. And
I appreciate so much that you came on board so quickly, and your help with this will really help get the word out so much, and I'm really grateful.
And for more information, as we said, you can go to pennybrinfarm.ca. Now, each rider pays $4,000 to participate, and you can get more information on sponsoring riders like Lindsay at woundedwarriors.ca/BBR18. Well, it's been called the age of the educated cowboy, and things have changed on the range. Here's the brilliant songwriting of Bren Hill.
'Tis the age of the educated cowboy, though it ain't the wage of an educated man. You can change cowography 1,000 ways, but you can never change this jagged land. 'Tis the place where the past and the future collide. Computers weigh the heifer in the pen. The squeaking of the leather beneath me as I ride gets me longing for the good old days again. Just another day over Desiree. You can tell me how, but I'll punch these cows my own way. I don't need a PhD to tell me when the sun will rise and fade over Desiree. Tis the way that the wind blows through the aspen, and the freedom of an endless sky and range. And when it comes to moving on, I'll be the last one. But then again, I guess that some things never change. And just another day over Desiree. You can tell me how, but I'll punch these cows my own way. And I don't need a PhD to tell me when the sun will rise and fade over Desiree.
And next you'll hear this week's classic Song of the West and the story behind the song, and then a horse trade that kind of went sideways in the cowboy poetry spotlight when the Spirit of the West continues right after this. Welcome back to the Spirit of the West. For this week's classic Song of the West, we'll look at a cowboy on his good old night horse making quiet circles around the restless herd in the middle of the night. The rest of the crew lie snoring in their bedrolls, but the cattle are a bit restless, so the cowboy starts to sing to them, and it definitely helps them settle down. The song, I suspect the words often reflect a cowboy's love interest from far away, and this sounds like it was written a long time ago just exactly for that situation, but actually it only goes back to 1972 when Marty Robbins was looking for more songs to fill out his album All Around Cowboy, and I think he came up with a great one in Restless Cattle.
Restless cattle, stop your milling round. It's time to go to sleep. While I tell you about some secrets this poor cowboy has to keep. You won't understand, but still I'd like to get it off my chest. Restless cattle, now it's time to get some rest. If I show you what I carry, will you promise not to laugh? If another teardrop falls and stains her faded photograph, only you know how I feel inside, only you know that I weep. Restless cattle, settle down, it's time to sleep. What's this you've stopped your milling? Can it be you understand that a cowboy cries like any other man? Guess my story must have touched you, 'cause you're all standing around. Restless cattle, now it's time for bed in town. Guess my story must have touched you, 'cause you're all standing around. Restless cattle, now it's time for bed in town.
Many years ago, Curly Gerlach described him as the boy with a teardrop in his voice, Marty Robbins. Well, everybody enjoyed Chris Isaacs at the Kamloops Cowboy Festival this year, a master reciter, and the Cowboy Poetry Spotlight is shining on him right now.
Bob Bird is a New Mexico cowboy born and raised in the famous Lincoln County country of central New Mexico. He's one of those guys who have a knack for finding the funny or absurd in almost any situation. I think you'll see that in this poem called Tenderfoot. The chickens complained as I drove up the lane to the house of the horse I just bought. I paid a bit steeper, but he was a keeper and worth it, or so as I thought. The owner had said he had 200 head and gathered his cattle alone, across the hills and the creeks, through sand and mesquite on the back of this little red roan. He sent the family to fetch him. Heck, it was easy to catch him, and they brought him along a cow trail, with some old cardboard cack and 4 kids on his back and one hanging off of his tail. Well, I got all sentimental. That sucker was gentle. Not that I ain't no tough buckaroo, but he loaded plumb easy, which really did please me, as off to the home ranch we flew. I noticed back home that he had 4 bare feet on. I sure didn't want him to bruise. He'd a done in the sand, but I had rocky land, so I'd figured I'd tack on some shoes. So with a hammer in grasp, 1 shoe and a rasp, and a handful of nails in my mouth, I stepped to the rear, displaying no fear, and picked up the hind foot on the south. Then the tornado hit as that bronc threw a fit and kicked me plumb into July. Doggone it, I swear as I sailed through the air for a bit I thought I could fly. But then gravity beat me as the gate came to meet me and pert near left me impaled. There was claw-hammer tracks on my shoulders and back, and I'm thinking I swallowed a nail. I decided real fast to save that foot for last, and I sure hope he ain't partial to punts. So I gathered my gear, went and rubbed on his ear, and bent down and picked up a front. Then a terrible sound as that foot come unwound and ricocheted me off of the fence. I went skipping through fodder like a flat rock on water till I started to gather some sense. Well, was my goose cooked? Could it be I got took? Had that nice family man up and lied? Of course, he was better off with his land being soft, or maybe he just never tried. Well, after further inspection of my bruise collection, his feet didn't look all that bad. So to give me a rest, the sale barn looked best, before he really did make me mad. Well, the sale was next day, so I had to make hay and haul him as quick as I could. But to minimize loss, whatever the cost, I just had to make him look good. So in his tail, I threw a braid. For his red mane, I made little tassels of glittery stuff. I painted eyelashes, curled his mustaches, but somehow it wasn't enough. Remember them feet that boxed me up neat? Well, I painted them pretty and pink, till at last he looked more like a $2 bouquet of roses. Well, he'd have stopped a stampede if he'd blinked. The night man was on guard as I pulled in the yard to help me unload the old thing. Did the paperwork fast, and on leaving he asked if I wanted him rode through the ring. Why, heck yes, I replied. Mount up either side. He'll rope any critter that eats. Hauls women or kids, never bucks, never did. But for hell's sake, don't pick up his feet.
Well, thank you so much for making the ride, and I sure hope you can join us right here next week at the same time. And as always, many thanks to our great support crew, Mark and Kathy McMillan. And you know, if you need tractor parts, any year, any make, see Mark's page, bctractorparts.com. And to subscribe to Canadian Cowboy Country Magazine, all you have to do is call 1-800-943-7336, and Kendra will look after you. And come on by the Trainers Challenge at the main event in Red Deer and say howdy next weekend. Till then, I'm Hugh McLennan. Hope to see you down the trail somewhere real soon.